This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Talk about the name that is going to become a theme for this show, and he's probably sort of the unsung hero of the idea of TNA. It's Andrew McManus. And the first time I think I remember seeing his name mentioned in regard to professional wrestling was him putting together a tour with Dennis Rodman and Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. It was the main attraction, a 19,000 seat arena in Sydney, Australia. Did you hear about this at the time? Wait a minute. What are they doing in Australia? And I guess to add context to this, Australia has been a strong wrestling territory for a long time. Back to Barnett, back to Dundee, somebody that was very familiar with Memphis. So it's not like it's strange that it's happening in Australia, but it is at least interesting that it's Beefcake and Rodman in 2000, right?
The first person that told me about that, do you have any idea who told me about it?
I don't.
Vince Russo.
Okay.
I'd never had heard any real thing about it, but when I sort of heard the card, first we'll address Australia. You know, Australia went dark for a lot of years, and I wasn't really aware of that till we went down there with WCW, and then going back down there and seeing it was the product was hot. WCW is hot, and just thinking, wow, this used to be a territory, and learning the different. Now, years ago, Bill Dundee, who's actually from Scotland, but you know, came to the States via Australia, George Barnes. So I'd always heard of Down Under, but the territory and how, in a lot of ways, red hot. You know, it's the original WCW for you historians out there. You know, but so it was red hot, and then it died off, and no money, and it's a long way over there, and there's just nothing going on. Then WCW went back there. And then when I heard Australia, I'm like, wow, so that's a market. That's interesting. But then I'll say, look, I was in WCW when Rodman and all that came through, but he was definitely garnish. You know what I mean? He wasn't the stake. Hulk and Scott and Kevin and all that, but what an attraction it was. Sure. And I said that with all, I mean, huge, but I just was like, he's your main event. I didn't get that. I didn't. And then I, you know, in the same conversation, Russo was talking about, it was a financial disaster in no certain terms.
Well, we're going to talk about the tour, but I do want to mention, because this is one of those wrestling things, right, Jeff, where you hear, oh, there's this wealthy businessman who wants to start a promotion. And we hear it all the time. And hell, people heard it a few years ago about Tony Khan and thought, it's another boat tale. You know, it's another bullshit story. And it turns out, wow, AEW is really a thing. But people had a reason to believe that McManus could pull this off. He had handled tours for Fleetwood Mac, ZZ Top, Kiss, Lenny Kravitz. So when you hear all of that, you think, well, now maybe this is different. And this tour in particular had the Road Warriors, Barbarian, Paul Orndorff, Earthquake, Typhoon, Tatanka, Greg Valentine, One Man Gang, Maestro, and Public Enemy. So a lot of these guys, you would share locker rooms, I guess probably all of them over the years. But as you mentioned, the tour goes horribly. It's canceled midway through, and it's a financial disaster. So I guess the question is, how did you first become introduced to him? You had heard that, hey, this thing died. It was terrible. But now somehow you guys are connected. How do you get hooked up with Andrew?
So, and again, trying to jog my memory on this, and all the dots started back to connect. So Russo had contacted JB, Jeremy Borash, about all this. That's sort of how the original connection. But I can remember hearing, how does Rodman fit in with this cast of characters? And it was heavily weighted ex-WWF stars, and WCW was the hot product, to my understanding, down there at that time. But I looked up McManus. I had some folks here locally that immediately said, yeah, he's really the real deal. And he's highly connected around the world. He's a broker, not just a promoter, but a concert broker. He's dialed into that industry in a big way, not just Australia, UK, Asia, just really around the world. He knows that scene. But Vince's story to me was, and I truly believe it, in every shape, form, or fashion, was he just doesn't know the wrestling industry like at all, and sort of figured that out on tour one. And then, are you interested? Was Jeremy's question to me, and I'm like, yeah. And me and Vince might have had a couple of conversations around that, but I just remember Vince either couldn't do it or didn't want to do it. I'm not exactly sure what the deal was, but Jeremy asked me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm up for it. And especially after I had done the quick due diligence to my music contacts, that yes, he's well funded, and he's a big boy in the promoter world, and I knew that there was a enormous amount of talent out there.
Two things here. What was your relationship like here with Vince Russo? We'll call it 2001.
Good. I mean, look, every relationship has its ups and downs. So I don't want to say at this point we were real high or real low. I think it was just a good relationship. The quote unquote, the WCW situation was game, set, match. He was still intertwined in that Bash at the Beach situation. And so that was, I think, the extent of it.
And you mentioned a minute ago, you sort of vetted McManus with some of your music contacts. Tell me about what that means.
Find out how much money you can save for free right now at savewithconrad.com.
Just, hey, do you know a guy named Andrew McManus who's a music promoter? Give me a day and call me back. Okay, call you back. Yes, he's done this. And Doc McGee is Kiss's manager / everything. But there, a couple of different names in Nashville, all checked out. Like, he is a music promoter who is successful, and you can be a regional promoter in music. It's even to this day. My next door neighbor is one of the head honchos in UTA. But the music industry can be broke down a couple of different ways. But as far as touring, there's bar shows, there's shed shows, amphitheaters, there's arena, there's all different forms. But there are guys that promote globally, and Andrew was one of them. Like I said, he had contacts around the world. Oh, he had done shows around the world. I came to find out later on firsthand that he's dialed in just about everywhere that big shows were played.
So once you sort of vet him, you have a conversation with him. What's that sound like?
So Jeremy sort of nailed down on, you up for it? I'm like, yeah, I kind of think from what I'm hearing, and I didn't talk to any of those guys. Matter of fact, when I heard that list, you just say back, I just don't, wow, that's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
That was a big roster, but I didn't have any conversations to my recollection with any of them. But knowing that it had fallen apart, I knew going in, Andrew, where we at? And he, Jeremy said, are you interested in talking? I said, sure. So we talked, and I said, yeah, let's go for it. And when Andrew had his first conversation I need somebody who not only as a talent, but that can put things together. And I said, I'm up for it.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.